Ahoy there, landlubbers. I'm Farron, and in this video, I'm continuing what I started in my last video where I said I would build a pirate's cove. If you missed it, I built some cool ships in the last video. However, now we need to move on and build the cove part. So I'm going to go and build a pirate island, which means this video is going to involve lots of sculpting and painting terrain. Building the island will set me up for my next video where I'll be making a whole pirate city to go on the island. I'm out here in the ocean and I've selected a nice big area that I can build my pirate island in. Now let me show you how I'm going to start building this. I'm going to use four main tools for this. I'm going to use the sculpt brush, the paintbrush, the selection tool and the smooth brush tool. I'm pretty confident that with all four of these tools I should be able to make most of the island. I'm going to start with the paintbrush tool and I'm going to start drawing big spheres. In fact, I'm going to start drawing cubes, not spheres. I'm going to make them 10 by 10. I don't want to make them any bigger than that. If you go too big with this, then you can generally lag your world out a bit. So I'm going to keep it to just 10 by 10. I'm going to use lime, but you could use any block to start because the first block that we start with doesn't matter too much. We can always mask it and cover it with other blocks later. To start this build, the one thing I know I absolutely want is a big central water area with sides all around it. That's going to be the main cove. And so really, I need to start mapping that out. So what I want to do is I want to start looking at my map and thinking, okay, where's my cove going to be? I kind of want it like a crescent moon here, maybe. So that's what I'm going to start doing. Let's quickly put on air placement. There we go. Now we have a place to start. If we take air placement off again, now I can just start blocking in the rough area where my cove is going to be. And now that we've started, I think we're going to swap over to time-lapsing this instead. I'm now going to drop out of the time-lapse for just a minute to talk to you about what I've been doing. And my goodness, is this thing absolutely huge. I did say in the first video with the pirate ships that this would be the biggest thing I ever made. And I think you can see that it probably is going to be the biggest thing. This is huge. There are tiny boats for scale. And you can see that because this area is going to be the place where I build my pirate city, I needed it to be huge. In fact, with the current view distance that I'm happy with having, this is about as big as I can possibly go because otherwise the cove actually just starts to disappear. I've been adding loads of blocks to the sides of these cliffs so that I can build them out and make them look more like an island. I even did an arch over this part because I thought it would be really interesting. I'm going to need to do a huge smoothing step after this, so once I've got a rough shape that I'm happy with, I'll smooth everything and work on the fine detail of how all the terrain will look. Underneath the water, I do have some pillars that I want to use to support the island parts, and I will shape these better. They won't just be solid blocks, but I do want to leave gaps between some areas because, one, it just makes sense for the terrain, but also because it will allow you to swim through this area more easily. Around the edges of the cove, I'm going to have all kinds of different heights and cliff areas, and on this part at the back here, I'm thinking about having a big waterfall or multiple waterfalls, and over here, we're going to have a cave. You can see there's a little cave, and then it opens out into this kind of pillar stack area where you've got a skylight. And I'll probably make this a bit smaller, but a skylight will be a really nice touch to just have some light coming in. And maybe we can put some kind of feature in the middle here. All I've got to keep doing is placing lots more cubes, and then I think I'll start the smoothing process to help make my terrain look more realistic. Smoothing in Hytale is a real joy. The smooth tool is just so easy to use and it all happens right in front of your eyes and is very simple. The key thing that I did here to keep most of the shape of my terrain from all the cubes that I drew was if we go to my smooth tool and we look at the smooth strength, I actually changed it to a 1 when I was using it on Lorelei. And that was the key to keeping most of my terrain shape the way it is and not making too many drastic changes. This is great and all, but now I can really see how things are going. I know that I definitely need a few more flat areas where I can put things. So I'm going to need to use the Shift+R technique to set an axis and then draw some flat areas so that we can have some points of interest on those, like buildings and bits of jungle and vegetation and stuff like that. I've been working on the terrain for a little while now, and I'm really happy with how things are going so far. I've put some extra focus on this area because this is where the pirate city is mostly going to be. I think I'll spread buildings around to all the different areas, but the main concentration of buildings is probably going to be in this area. That's why I've got the most big flat spaces over here. I made a waterfall, which I think is pretty cool, and I'm hoping I can keep that without messing up any of the terrain even if I do a few more tweaks. And yeah, everything's going really well. Obviously, I'm going to start to put blocks of like soil and vegetation and grass and all kinds of things over this in the future. But I actually think the next stage, the next thing that I should work on is under the water and work on the structure of how the islands will look underneath. Obviously, we've got some coral here that I'd like to preserve if possible, but if not, I'll just build my own coral. What we're going to try and do is make everything make sense. We've got big rectangular blocks, and we've even got some weird like drawn lines that I made with the paintbrushes, and that's, not looking great, so I've got to fix it. And that's what I'm going to do in the next time lapses. I don't know how easy it will be to time lapse underwater like this, but we're going to give it a go and see how it turns out. Oh wow, I'm sat here and I'm wondering why on earth did I decide to do this like this under the water. This has been huge. I seem to do more terrain shaping under the water than I actually did above the water. And I'm still not really done, but I don't think I can show much more of this. It'll be a bit too boring. So I'll work on a lot of this off camera, I think, and we'll move on to other stuff. So in the last little time lapse you'll have seen there, I did actually begin to make some tiny rocks. I thought for some extra variation and to make things hopefully look more natural, we'll do some tiny rocks. Tiny little rocks like these. And yeah, that's pretty cool. And I've dotted most of them here, but I have done a few around the rest of the island as well. And one thing I wanted to show was what the map looks like at this stage, because this is pretty cool. Check this out. This is the map of the pirate island, and it's quite a nice complicated shape, which I'm really enjoying on the map here. And it's sandwiched between two either very large islands or continents, and we've even got a big zone 4 above it to the north. There are all kinds of little rocks and big rocks, and you can see my flat areas where I plan to build things, and we've got the skylight and the mountains over here. I think it's really, really cool, but it's missing some color, and we need to put some green grassy blocks all over this thing, because the last thing that I think I want to do before I start adding extra blocks to this build is to make a proper cave. We have our skylight cave, which is kind of not a cave because it's not enclosed on all sides. So I want to make a proper cave that is enclosed, and I think I'm going to pick this large mass in the middle, and I'm going to make a cave around the back of this. Now that we've got some grass and some rocky variation, things are starting to look a lot better, and the whole island is looking way more interesting. One of the future steps is to add a load of vegetation, but before I do that, I think I want to make some edits to the island. But quickly, before I get into that, let's talk about how I did this. I used the layer brush to do this, and I basically made sure that for my grass one, I had a top layer of grass that was 1 block thick, and a second layer of soil or dirt that was 2 blocks thick. For the sand, I just had 1 layer and it was just sand, but I made it 2 blocks thick. And the layer brush just easily allows you to cover and pretty much already masks whatever you're painting on and just prevents you from going too deep. So let's talk edits now. I'm just thinking that this area is a bit flat, and it would be really nice if the island built up to a much higher peak over there, and that would give me some cliffs that I could put some pirate buildings on, and it would make this area look less flat, so we can raise this up maybe a bit and maybe this peak. So I'm going to play around with this in the next time lapse and see what happens. So the mountain is a lot bigger now, and I think it's way more imposing, way cooler, and we're going to have so many more places to put buildings. I also worked on my ghost cave, and you can see in there that I've done a lot of detailing, but this is with the full bright setting on, and what I'll do in the reveals at the end is show the cave with full bright off. What I want to do next is add a load of detail to this, so all the vegetation, extra patterning in the blocks to smooth things out where I've got big patches, and just to generally go around and make everything look really, really cool. And I've even been playing around with vegetation blocks just to see what's going to work best, and I think I'm even going to have to use the tint tool, which is a tool I haven't used that much. I think for this one, I'm also going to use some prefab trees, probably palm trees for this kind of location. And that will give me lots of really cool trees that I can easily just place around. So it all sounds good. I've got my plans, and now I'm going to get on with it. Whoa, look at this. It's amazing. It's turned out much better than I thought it would. And, I go into these projects, I have an idea in my head. Sometimes it's close to the idea, sometimes it's far. This one's actually turned out pretty close to what I was imagining when I started this whole thing. And I'm very happy with it. I think it's really cool. I think there's lots of details. But of course, it's only the start. We've got another video, and in that video, I'm going to put a city on this island. There's not really much of a walkthrough tour to do on this build because you've pretty much seen most of it in the reveal and in all the time lapses beforehand. A lot of the flat areas that you can see here are where I'm planning to put buildings, and I may end up putting buildings all over the cliffs and stuff as well. I don't really know yet until I start building out all of the various pirate structures that I'm going to be using. I don't really know how it's going to go, so it's going to be fun to explore and see what happens. I love that this island is big enough that I've got so many secret hidey holes and places that I can put secret treasures and Easter eggs and references and all these kind of things in the next episode. And we can do loads as we start adding structures all around this whole place. I like that I've got the ghost cave under here. I think it adds a really nice touch to the lore of this build because it makes it like the sailors who live in the city above get haunted by this thing. So maybe at night, sometimes they see the ghost ship circling around the cove, or maybe they even see ghostly sailors haunting them in the city. I hope you enjoyed this Hytale build video, and if you did, make sure you're subscribed because the next video will finish off this project and make this island look even more epic. If you want to support me, I have a creator code you can use when you buy Hytale, and as always, I want to say a massive thank you for watching.